It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. Welcome, friends and neighbors, to the program today. Thank you so much for joining us once again. The biggest football game in town this week is not the big game Sunday with former Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears coming to town down at Ford Field, but rather Friday night at West Bloomfield High School as the OAA Red Division schedule kicks off with a very big game between the West Bloomfield Lakers and the visiting Rochester Adams Highlanders. So big that it's being picked up regionally for broadcast by local 4+ and our friends over at State Champs. Earlier this week, I had a chance to talk with head coach Zach Hilbers on This Week in Laker Football to get his insight into a very talented Highlanders team coming in to week number 3.
Well, they're really good. They're really well coached. They have been for years. Their quarterback and middle linebacker, outside linebacker, he plays all over. He's one of the better players in the league, better players in the state of Michigan, in my opinion. And he's been a thorn in our side for years. So a lot of our game plan kind of revolves around him and stopping him because he's pretty good and he has the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah, the kid you're mentioning, Rhino Waters, their quarterback, coming off an injury in week 5 last year, broke his foot. And somehow the team looked even stronger after he was out last season. Maybe that emotional toll played a role in them ultimately running to the state semifinal, running into Hudsonville. Mm-hmm. They're coming back with a lot of those same weapons in 2025. You on the other side being a much younger team. We talked earlier about discipline, about the execution of this team in the first 2 weeks. How does all that factor in? As you're going up against a veteran team with some emotional baggage on their shoulder they're looking to answer for in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. He got hurt last year, and they still, with their backup, the Ferris kid, he led them to the semifinals. He's still an integral part of their offense, kind of playing all over. Reminds me a lot of what we do with our guys with like Jamal and Will Espy. He's a similar type of player, so he's equally effective. They got pieces all around him. They're unique style on offense, unique style on defense, and they're really, really good at what they do. So it's a challenge for sure.
They're coming off of a couple of impressive wins themselves. They put up 39 points on Romeo in week number 1. Last week, they hold Rochester, a quality team out of the OAA White, a vastly improved team in 2025, to just 3 points. You look at your team, these 2 shutouts. You look at their team, 2 near shutouts in these first 2 weeks. Talking to your offense, how do you adjust to that? Putting up so many points the first couple of weeks and knowing that you may have a little more scarcity in week number 3.
Yeah, we talked about in our team meeting on Sunday night that, to be honest, both of us and Rochester Adams, haven't been really tested in the fourth quarter yet this year. So we both have to be prepared for it. If it falls our way and it doesn't happen, great. But we have to be ready for the resiliency it takes, the perseverance to play 4 quarters of football, because we've been in the fortunate position where we could kind of coast in the fourth quarter the last 2 weeks.
You put up 74 consecutive unanswered points. That's a lot of confidence to build for your defense. That's the good part of the first 2 weeks. The bad part is that confidence can sometimes turn into complacency, especially for young players at the high school level. As you get ready for Rochester Adams, what's the talk in the defensive meeting room as they're preparing for their toughest test yet this season?
Yeah, they're pretty locked in. They don't buy too much into, maybe it's because I don't let them, but they don't buy too much into what we've done the last couple of weeks. And I think a lot of those guys were on the field last year. They remember being tied there in the fourth quarter and them going on a 10.5-minute drive to basically win the game. So that's pretty fresh in our minds, and it's keeping us focused right now.
How much does last year's performance on the road in Adams factor into this for the older players, getting the younger players into the sense of what this game is going to look like? Because, as you said, for most of that game, it was a bit of a back and forth, a tit for tat between your 2 teams. But really, there was that last 10 minutes or so where the tide had turned and Adams played perfect football. So how much are the younger guys getting a little bit of a lesson from the elder players about preparing for just how much of a challenge these next several weeks are going to be in the red?
Well, certainly probably a great game to watch as a fan. Wasn't my favorite, but the way it ended. But, it's funny, you can't be a bad defense and have someone go on a 10.5-minute drive. because you would give up a big play at some point and they would score quicker. So, I mean, obviously we would have rather stopped them, but they converted 3 or 4 fourth downs on that drive. And they're like what I told our kids last year is, they stepped up and made winning plays when they had to, and we didn't. So it's been on our minds for a long time, and we hope that, we're going to be 1 or 2 plays better this year. But with the way high school football works, they're a different team, we're a different team. Some of the faces might be the same, but it's different kids every year.
And right now, looking at the standings in the red, looking at the results of the first 2 weeks, 3 stand at the top. It's yourself, it's Oxford, the defending champions in this division, and Rochester Adams. Oxford's going up against 1-1 Clarkston. Lake Orion's 0-2, had some injury problems as they head into week number 3. This is a chance for either yourself or the Highlanders to take the driver's seat in the OAA Red. How important is that momentum as you head into the thick of the schedule?
I mean, I guess since it's the first OAA Red game, it's pretty important because 1-0 is a whole lot better than 0-1 because there's only 4 league games. So it's always, all the games are tough and they're all important. There's a reason, last year Oxford beat us, but had we won, it would have been a 4-way tie at 2-2. And it's, in a way, it would have been pretty metaphoric, I guess. But so we expect them all to be a battle anyway. So it's pretty important because it's the next one.
Lakers taking on Rochester Adams right here at West Bloomfield High School. 7 o'clock kickoff on Friday. That game will be broadcast on State Champs Network and Local 4 Plus as well. We'll have links for that on our Lakers Sports page on civiccentertv.com/Lakers Sports. Coach, as we head into Friday, any last thoughts, lasting images for people to think about as they go into watching the Lakers take on the Highlanders Friday night at the Swamp?
I don't know. If you just look over the course of the years, every time we play these guys, it's a pretty good game. So we expect a lot of entertainment, and we just hope to be 1, 2, 3 scores better, whatever it is. I just want one more point than they have at the end of the day.
Plenty more to go over with Coach Hilbers from the Lakers' first 2 weeks of the season. And, of course, we'll even talk to one of their breakout stars, Joel Davis, on This Week in Laker Football. That's online and available on demand as we speak on CivicCenterTV.com. You can follow along all season with Laker football on CivicCenterTV.com/LakerSports. This Friday, we're off the broadcast. State Champs and Local 4 Plus picking up the game, but we'll be on site with some special things happening there as well. You can get all the links to view the Lakers this week Friday on CivicCenterTV.com/LakerSports. That's also where you'll always find our live broadcast most weeks, and of course, This Week in Laker Football. Close to home, West Bloomfield Township is getting a brand new look, unveiling a new logo earlier this week. You see it on your screen. A full revamp of the branding that represents the township's growing and evolving identity. We saw earlier on this week at a meeting, Lauren Bull, a consultant with Birch Partners, came in, discussed the whole thing. That meeting is available on CivicCenterTV.com. The keys of this logo brings into effect still some of those same colors, the green, the kind of darker navy, almost blue color scheme, with some new typeface for West Bloomfield that really makes the name of the community pop off the page. And of course, the blue heron, no longer resting atop its habitat, is launching into the air, symbolizing launching into the future for West Bloomfield Township. The blue heron, of course, an icon of our community, a rarity in the state of Michigan, with habitats almost exclusively right here in the greater West Bloomfield area. Fantastic new look for the township. I will let you know some inside baseball from West Bloomfield Township proper. The old logo remains the official seal of the community. So when you get documents from West Bloomfield Township and you don't see that new logo we just had up for you on our screen, don't be alarmed. The official logo of the township remains as it has been on those official documents. So when you get that old circular logo with the seated heron in the middle of it, that is an official document from the township. However, all their branding, their website, some of their signage you'll see throughout the community, that is going to feature this brand new logo, including some of our graphics right here at Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM when you're watching those municipal meetings, those premiering as soon as next week. For more information on the rebrand of the West Bloomfield Township logo, highly suggest you watch the West Bloomfield Township board meeting from Monday, September 8th. That available on civiccentertv.com. You'll find it during our weekend meeting replay block. You can also see some clips from that meeting on our website and across our social media. Scan that QR code on your screen for even more details. And stay tuned, wbtownship.org. You'll be seeing a brand new look on that website. That's part of the first implementation of this brand new livery for West Bloomfield Township, springing into the future with a brand new set of logos. With fall sports season underway, many of our local athletes are taking part in what is their final season of organized competitive athletics at any level. But that doesn't mean that they have to get out of their beloved sports after their graduation. I spoke to OAA football officials assigner Bob Check to learn how high school athletes can stay in the game after their final season concludes. Bob, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, happy to have you on the show to talk about this. This was a part of a speech you gave at OAA Football Media Day, really more towards the greater community of student athletes for their futures. We're looking for more officials. I know the MHSAA always is looking for more officials to join across all sports. Certainly the OAA is going to be involved in that as well. But right now, what's the reason for the particular focus on inspiring our current high school athletes to consider refereeing once they graduate?
Well, the average age of the officials that we have in our area is usually around the high 50s to early 60s. So we're getting older. And the problem is that every year we get a year older and the kids stay 16. So sometimes it's a little challenging keeping up with them. So what we would like to do is reach out to all the high school players. And after they graduate, if they want to stay in town, get registered with the Michigan High School Athletic Association for whatever sport they want to do. I personally handle football, girls and boys basketball, baseball, and softball. If they want to get registered with the MHSAA, I will train them, mentor them, and put them to work because we need more younger people. And it's really, if you're going to college, it's really a good part-time job because you can work the games you can work it around your schedule while you're in college. And the same way you stay part of the game, you're out there running around and you're getting exercise, and you have somebody younger working these games closer to the age of the kids they're playing. Again, most of us are getting older. We know what we're doing, but sometimes age catches up with us a little bit after a while.
And it helps to keep the sport fresh, I'd imagine, too, because every generation has a different way of approaching the game. The rules, the similarities, the tendencies kind of change over the course of history. And so when you have those young athletes that just got done with their high school career now officiating those high school games, I'd imagine it's a little bit easier for them to level with the players at that rate because A, they're their own peers, but B, they also have the most immediate understanding of what it's like to play in that setting in our modern age.
Absolutely. If they played, once we train them as officials, they catch on real quick because, again, they played, they know what's going on, and they catch on real quick. So that's what we need. So we need some more younger guys that want to get out here and run around and be part of our team.
So I don't think a lot of people, Bob, understand just what goes in to being an athletics official. Most of what people know about our referees is that they like to boo them and blame their team's losses on the referees. So when these athletes are transitioning from competing on the field to officiating these games, what does that training look like? What's that big difference in that transition for them?
Well, what we do is once they get registered, we mentor them and train them, so that when they start working games, they concentrate basically on the game and communicating with the players and coaches. And most of all of them catch on real quick. Their attention needs to be on the game and what's going on and not worry about what's going on in the stands. And most of them do real well that way. They just lock it out, concentrate on the game, and move forward.
Bob Check is with us. He is the OAA football referee assigner for our local league. That includes West Bloomfield football games, helping to coordinate all the officials we need for all of our fall sports, especially those football games we love on Friday nights. And they need more officials going forward, especially those young kids. So if your kids are playing a fall sport, it's their final season, they can continue in the game next year. Just got to get in contact with Bob and get in contact with the MHSAA to begin that journey. Bob, for those that have made that transition already, they've graduated high school in recent years, now they are officiating. What has been their feeling or their reaction to having gone through this recruiting process themselves, now are in the game in this capacity years later? Do you find that they find this rewarding?
They do. And once we get them trained and get going, they normally stick with us. And even after they're done with school or college, most of them will stick with us after they get into their adult life and job situations. But once we get them, we normally hold on to them, and they enjoy doing what they're doing.
So why do we need really well-trained officials, and especially those that are going to stay in these games for extended periods of time?
Well, as you know, these athletes today are much more gifted than they were when I was playing. I mean, they're really, really sharp. And many of these sports, they play that sport year-round, so they're really, really experts at it. So we just got to stay on top of it and do the best we can so that our level of officiating stays at the level of their expertise while they're playing.
In football, it takes a certain skill set to be a quarterback. It takes a certain skill set and athleticism to be on the defensive line, a certain skill set to be a kicker or a punter with great precision and to have that range. For referees, what are some of the skills that make a really solid official across all sports?
I would say the most important thing is just use common sense. Use common sense, treat people with dignity and respect, and they will give that back to you, because they know you're out there working hard just like they are to do a good job. So common sense, and be a little humble every now and then. That goes a long way.
Bob Check is with us, the OAA football officials assigner on today's edition of the Splash Live as we get ready for fall sports season to get underway, and in some cases already well underway. We're looking not only for the next great athletes in Greater West Bloomfield, but the next great officials in Greater West Bloomfield. Hey, we already have many officials at some of the highest levels in athletics that have at least one time hailed from West Bloomfield. Heck, the lead referee from the most recent Super Bowl, Ron Torbert, used to live right here in West Bloomfield Township. Could be your kids in the near future. Bob, if kids are interested, they want to become referees, they want to at least consider this, how do they get in contact with you or begin this process through the MHSAA?
Okay, the number one thing they need to do is get registered with the Michigan High School Athletic Association. And the phone number there in Lansing is 517-332-5046. And the young lady you want to talk to is absolutely terrific. Her name is Laura Roberts. If you're a brand new official, call up there, talk to Laura. She'll get you going and get you registered. Then once you get registered, you can contact us at MetroDetroitAthleticOfficials.com. And then we will train you, mentor you, and I will be more than happy to put you to work.
That phone number for the registration with the MHSAA, if your kids are interested in becoming officials, or even those younger adults want to become officials, those of all ages always welcome. 517-332-5046. That's 517-332-5046. Speak to Laura Roberts. And of course, even more information on MHSAA.com. Bob, before we let you go, anything else we haven't discussed yet that would be important for people to know as they're considering perhaps becoming a high school sports official?
I will just tell you, once you start doing it, and you have relationships with other officials and coaches, it goes a long way, and it can be very rewarding. So give us a chance. We'll put you to work, and we think you'll enjoy it.
Bob, we appreciate your time joining us today on the Splash Live to tell us more, and hopefully plenty of our star athletes who have been making a big impact in their local communities, including close to home here in Greater West Bloomfield, will continue that tradition, whether it's in our community or in their college communities going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
More information on officiating in the MHSAA and training opportunities before your kids get into that activity after their final season of athletics can be found on MHSAA.com. West Bloomfield's Rotary Club is on a mission to expand their reach, helping kids of all ages from far beyond those that are here close to home. Their annual Out of Africa fundraiser is on its way at Pine Lake Country Club later this month, helping to raise funds to support the kids in need all across the globe. Here to tell us more is Marlon Mackey from the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield. Miss Mackey, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you on to talk about this. It's an annual fundraiser. It's one of the biggest fundraising opportunities of the year that is put forth by the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect if they show up on September 28th to the Out of Africa fundraiser.
Well, we are having, as you know, we're having a dinner at Pine Lake Country Club, also a silent and live auction, during which there will opportunity to buy raffle tickets for a 50-50 raffle. And there will be many opportunities for people to show their support for the kids that we're trying to help.
And it all goes to support an organization called Omni. Give us a little bit of information, some insight for those not familiar with this, haven't gone to the fundraiser, haven't heard of it on our programming and in other places in past years. What does Omni do that makes the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield put its support behind them year in and year out?
Well, first of all, the acronym OMNI stands for Orphans Medical Network International. And right now we are working very hard in Africa and have been there for the last 20-some years. And so we are supporting the most vulnerable and impoverished children that you could imagine. And we are trying to get them and their communities every possible help so that they have a viable future.
So what inspired this? It's, as you said, almost 20 years or over 20 years that this fundraiser has been ongoing with the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield. What inspired the beginning of raising funds for this organization that does work far and beyond the confines of our community?
Well, as you know, Rotary is service above self, and Rotary aims to help all people in many different communities, and often they have an international project, and that's what this one is. My husband has been with this organization for some 20 years, almost since its beginning, and it started out with the team of medical missionaries going over to Africa, and ended up with a much broader scope than it has now.
We did talk to Dr. Mackey just before the Michigan Week Awards in May of this year, and part of our conversation with Dr. Mackey was about his experiences going to these parts of Africa, going to Zambia in particular to help Omni with some of these services. So for those that aren't familiar with the end cause of why this is being supported by the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield, you raise all these funds, you send them to Omni. How do they help with the boots on the ground in places like Zambia, helping out these kids?
Well, I don't know if it's general knowledge, but in Zambia, in order to go to school, the children must be able to buy the uniform, and their parents have to belong to the PTO. Well, if you're an orphan, you obviously don't have that opportunity. And even worse, if you have parents who are alive and they're poor, you still don't have that opportunity to go to school. So the cycle of poverty just kind of repeats itself over and over again. What now? We have a school over there in which we have 365 children that attend there. And almost every person there, well, they're chosen by need. So 50% of the children have lost one or both of their parents. They all face chronic hunger, they lack medical treatment, and cannot afford to attend the public school. So what we do is we try to take in the most vulnerable of all of these children, give them an education, and a hot meal every single day. We give them food to take home on the weekend, which we'll tell you a little bit more about that. They get a school uniform for free. Twice a year, they get shoes on their feet, which is a big way of preventing a lot of diseases. They get treated mosquito netting for their homes because they don't live in homes like you and I. They live in huts that have dirt floors, no heat, no electricity, and no furniture. So they're very, very poor people. So the money that we raise, we right now try to sponsor at least 20 children. So we have a grant with the Rotary that will help us out, but we must raise at least $5,000 in order to do our part of that grant. And luckily, we have been fortunate in the past years to be able to raise more than that. So we've been able to do a whole lot more than just 20 kids. Each child sponsorship for 1 year is $420, which is not a lot of money.
Yeah, for 20 kids each, that goes a long way to be able to help almost a full classroom's worth of children, especially if you exceed that baseline goal of 20. That is a significant amount of orphan children in Zambia that are going to be able to have that education, that those medical needs being met as well, and so many of these other services. Marlon, you and your family have participated in this for many of these last 20 years, if not every single one of them in some capacity. So you are uniquely familiar with how Omnis work on the ground and how these fundraisers help these communities across the globe. But for those that join in on these fundraisers, maybe they did last year or a couple of years ago, maybe they are going to for the first time this year on September 28th at Pine Lake Country Club for this particular year's fundraiser. What typically is the reaction from those that go to this event and learn more about Omni's work when they learn just how far their dollar is going when they donate by coming to this event?
Well, I think people start to realize when they hear the stories of the children and their families, of which there are many stories you can imagine. When they start to hear these stories, they realize how lucky we were to be born in the country that we are in, and that these children have nothing and they will not get anywhere unless they get an education and have someone help them just get out of that spiral. So all of the money that we raise, every penny of it goes for the kids. Anybody in the United States that works with Omni is a volunteer. No one is paid for anything. On the years that the medical team's over, each person on the medical team paid their own way, their own airfare, their own hotel, their own food, and then ended up donating more money, usually while they were there because they saw a need and just jumped in and said, here, I'll put more money into that. So you know your money is going to help somebody for sure.
And that's what's important here, is that the money and the fellowship from this organization and from your organization with the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield, it actually goes to help actual people. It's not done for a photo op to get missionaries out there for their own purposes or for advertising and marketing. This is legitimately helping people in legitimate need in places that are in vulnerable situations, like the orphans that are in these scenarios in places like Zambia. Marlon Mackey is with us from the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield on today's edition of the Splash Live, their annual Out of Africa fundraiser helping Orphan Medical Network International, or Omni. September 28th begins at 4 p.m. Pine Lake Country Club in West Bloomfield. The auction, silent and live, begins at 4 p.m. Drawings at 7:30 p.m. with a dinner and a whole lot of fun in between all of that. More information on westbloomfieldrotary.org, or follow them on Facebook at West Bloomfield Rotary as well. Marlon, this all goes back to the overall mission of the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield, something that the people will also be able to learn about by attending this fundraiser. So how does it fit the vision of the Rotary Club? Of course, you mentioned the motto being service above self, but also help to tie the community here locally closer to that mission as well.
Just so you would know, in this past year, the past 2 years, there's been a drought. And the people didn't have enough problems being with poverty. Now they couldn't even grow crops. So we have done a lot of things there, like drilling more wells, making fresh water available to the community. We built the police station on our property so that we have increased security for our children. We just completed this week a gender-based violence counseling center to help combat the domestic violence that is quite rampant over there in Zambia. But anything that people can do to help out is very much appreciated. And we have pictures to show and stories to tell. So we hope that you can come and join us.
We do as well. Marlon, we know it's a very busy part of the year for people. They have a lot going on this fall between their kids in school, family events, the holidays, and all of that. So if they're not able to attend this fundraiser on September 28th, what are some other ways they can get involved, either with the Rotary Club of West Bloomfield or helping out Omni in the near future?
Well, they can always look on our webpage, as you gave the directions for that. They could buy raffle tickets. We have raffle tickets for a 50-50 raffle that are $20 a piece. And there's going to be a winner. Last year's winner took home over $2,000. We also have sponsorships for children. So anybody can sponsor a child for $420 a year or $35 a month, if you care to do it that way, and give another child, besides the ones that we hope to sponsor, another child personal life. These kids are so thankful for that. That recent trip to Zambia, a little girl came up to my husband and said, "Would you please sponsor me? My friends have a sponsor. I don't have a sponsor. Could you please sponsor me?" And of course, he said, "Yes, he will." So her name is Priscilla, and she's one of the children that we've sponsored now. She's now going into the 9th grade. Wow. So there's, if you look on the Rotary webpage, there are ways that you can donate there also. Just cash donations of any kind are always welcome because we have so much to do. And as I said, we have branched out into so many different areas, coming from a medical mission to now having a school. We feel responsible for every single one of those children, but we also are working with the community to develop their resources, small businesses, and we give them vocational training. We even have adult classes at night at our school to help them. The ones that have never gotten the chance to go to school can now learn how to read as an adult. So we just feel that our mission is quite valuable.
Your service and your patronage goes a long way to help real people in tough situations all over the globe, all in the name of supporting a good cause from right here, close to home in greater West Bloomfield. Marlon, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. More information is available on westbloomfieldrotary.org. You can also follow them for more info on the Out of Africa fundraiser and other missions right here in our community and beyond all throughout the year. Facebook.com/West Bloomfield Rotary. Close to home, another fundraiser happening here in West Bloomfield over at Pine Lake Country Club. Pickleball and tennis lovers will soon have a chance to join in on some friendly competition for a good cause. All in support of the Detroit Crime Commission and their programs to help women in need of protection from very dangerous life situations. Civic Center TV's Jake Schaff spoke to Renee Roth and Stephanie Yates from the Detroit Crime Commission to learn more.
Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely love hearing about events like this to help bring the community together. Stephanie, I'm going to start with you. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Love Tennis and Pickleball Mixer. How would you say this event has evolved over the past decade?
Thanks, Jake. The tennis and pickleball mixer has evolved over the past 10 years. By growing every year and changing locations. We started on a grass tennis court called Wesson out in Pontiac, and now we are at Pine Lake Country Club by the water, outside. It's beautiful, and our guests absolutely enjoy coming to Pine Lake for this event. We had about 50 people originally, and now we're close to 100 people that come out and play in our event annually.
Wow, I mean, you could definitely hear how much this event has grown in popularity over time. That is amazing to see. Renee, how would you say hosting this event at Pine Lake Country Club helps to add to the overall experience?
Thanks, Jake. I would say that our lakefront setting, we've got both clay courts and pickleball courts, and having the space necessary to bring in all our new guests has really helped us grow and engage more people. It's an easy setting to get to, and a lot of our patrons just love, watching the sunset afterwards as we have our mix and mingle and our silent auction, and it's just a great place to come out for a good cause.
That's absolutely right. And as I said before, there are great tournament formats with this event. There's tennis team play, and then there's the pickleball scramble. How would you say these formats encourage participation and fun?
So it encourages everybody at different levels to come in and play. You don't have to be a great tennis player or a great pickleball player. You could be a first timer. They can come out there and learn the rules, and it allows for the formats to create kind of a team mentalities, so where you're like working together as a team, and there's even little prizes involved. So it's a great way to encourage people to get out and have fun, and bring community together.
That's absolutely right. And I mean, when you say prizes, that's definitely going to garner a lot of attention and a lot of popularity for events like this. And all of this fun and all of this excitement goes towards some incredible causes: Crimes Against Women Initiative and the Safeguard Witness Protection Program. Stephanie, how do the proceeds directly support programs like this?
So the Crime Commission has several initiatives that we focus on throughout the year. Because our committee is mostly women, actually I think it's all women and one man, we chose Crimes Against Women because it makes the most sense. Some of our focus has been on human trafficking, and it's a very big problem. So the women chose that one, and that's where the funds will go for this event, as well as our witness protection program with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. You'll remember maybe 10 years ago they started the Rape Kit Initiative, so that is why we chose that. It's also focuses on women and crime, and a lot of the initiatives, is a kind of a male-driven focus. So this is more women, and our committee of women chose these two.
Well, it's amazing that all of this fun and all of this excitement is going to be going to some incredible causes along the way. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with Stephanie Yates and Renee Roth, who are involved with the Detroit Crime Commission, talking about the Love Tennis and Pickleball Mixer that's going to be taking place on September 27th at the Pine Lake Country Club, the 10th anniversary of this beloved event. Now, Renee, I would imagine that sponsors play a very, very big role in helping to make events like this successful. What opportunities are available for those who maybe want to help support the cause?
Yes, Jake. Sponsorship opportunities are still available, and they make this cause just so much more special. Each of our sponsorship levels come with an opportunity for marketing and signages and participation in the event. They really help drive our message throughout the community by showing they support us, and they back our causes, and it allows our message to spread throughout the community, which is pretty much one of our ultimate goals from all of these events.
Well, it's amazing to hear that there are so many ways people can get involved to help support your amazing mission. That's always great to hear. Stephanie, how important would you say community engagement and visibility is for the Detroit Crime Commission's mission?
So the Crime Commission has been around for about 14 years. I've been with it for about 10 years. And I think that people are starting to know who we are and recognize who we are. So the more events we do throughout the year, the more visibility we get, and people can, hear DCC and know exactly who they're talking about. We want people to support us, and we want also community to understand, about causes that we're supporting, so they're aware of like human trafficking or whatever it is that we're backing at the time. So it's very important for our community to know that this is going on, and these events, showcase that.
They absolutely do. I want to thank both of you guys for joining us here on the Splash Live. I got one more question before we wrap things up, and this is to both of you. Looking ahead, this event has been going on for 10 years. We want to see it continue in the years to come. What's your vision for the future of this pickleball and tennis mixer as it continues to grow? Renee, we'll start with you.
So our ultimate goal is to get women out and have some fun, spread our word. And so we just want to grow and keep on expanding and have more and more women come out and join us, and ultimately spread our message throughout the community and the awareness of what we're doing.
Stephanie, what about you?
Well, I'd like to say it's men and women we're asking to come out. It's not just for women. This event is for both men and women this year. It always has been, actually, but it's mostly women focused. But this year we want the men to come too. At any level, you do not need a partner to come. If you want to sign up, you can go to our website at detroitcrimecommission.org. and click on events, and then you can sign up that way. And just please come out and support us. All the money we raise is for, our initiatives, and we would really appreciate your support.
That's right, supporting so many great causes from the Detroit Crime Commission. Renee, Stephanie, thank you both so much for joining us today here on the Splash Live.
Thank you, Jake.
More information on this fundraiser and more from the Detroit Crime Commission is available on the Facebook page. Visit Facebook at Detroit Crime Commission for all of those details. With the kids back in school, the community takes on a renewed responsibility out on the road and throughout the local area to keep the kids safe when they go to school in the morning and, of course, when they're going home in the afternoon. I had a chance to go over helpful tips for parents, kids, and community members to help make the trip to and from school each day safe and sound for our local families. In this conversation with Officer Zena Daly from the West Bloomfield Police Department. Officer Daly, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Tyler.
Yeah, happy to have you on. It's an exciting time of the year. We get our kids back in the classroom. The fall's on its way.
Right.
School's back in session. But that comes with a lot of safety concerns because we've had these kids out and about either at camp or they've been at home all summer. The buses haven't been on the road. It hasn't been as busy necessarily. And now we get the kids back into the swing of things. It impacts everybody's schedule, whether you're a parent or not. So what are some of the most important factors that the community should be considering from a safety standpoint as we get those kids back in the classroom?
Yep, you are right. We're getting back in the swing of things, and that means you're going to start seeing kids walking early in the morning as it gets dark in the morning. You're going to see kids riding their bikes and getting to and from the bus stop. So I guess I'll start with our kids that are walking. If you have young kids, I really urge parents to find a safe walking route that they practice until their child knows that route before school starts. And if possible, sometimes these kids are taking routes and they're taking these walks on their own because their parents have to go into work so early, or they have other obligations going on. But if it's possible, I would say try to find a group, a friend to walk with them. If you don't have a couple of kids in your neighborhood or a couple of streets around you, see what you could do about talking to school about kids that maybe you don't know that well that are in the same school and taking that same route. Try to connect with those parents and get those kids together so they're not walking alone. And then, of course, I would make sure you're teaching them as they're walking home from school, both to and from school, if a car approaches them, how they should respond, and when they get to school or when they get home, to tell a trusted adult, hey, this happened. I want to get as much information from the child and report that so that we're aware of it and we can put something out and also patrol that area a little more than we already are as those kids are walking to and from school. You want to make sure that, I know West Bloomfield has a lot of streets that don't have sidewalks, but if we do have sidewalks on the streets that you're taking, I urge those kids to use the sidewalks as much as possible and take a route that avoids as many intersections as possible. And then you're going to see, along with these walkers, is all the new kids that are driving, the high school kids that are driving to and from school, and sometimes they're running late. Parents included, running late to work, running late to get their kids to school, and we're rushing a little bit. We are not paying attention, and we have those walkers and the kids that are riding their bikes to school. So we want to make sure that we are slowing down. We are aware at every stop sign and crosswalk if there are kids that are coming to and from through those crosswalks. And you want to make sure that our new drivers especially are following all the rules of the road so that they are not rushing through any stop signs where kids are crossing or at the bus stop, because sometimes you'll see some of those kids standing too close to the curb waiting for the bus, which leads me to our bus safety. So we have kids that are walking to the bus, again, on their own, and they're a lot of times rushing to get there. They're running late. You want to make sure that you are not running to the bus. That those drivers are aware. They see you. They will wait for you. And a lot of times those kids are telling me, hey, so-and-so is catching up. They'll be here in a second. Don't rush. Don't run to the bus, and make sure that bus is stopped before you're actually approaching that door. That driver will open the door, and that is your cue to then get in. And walking up to that door any sooner is not going to help you get in that bus until he or she opens that door. So, and then once you're in the bus, you want to. And I'm sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit before you get in the bus. you want to make sure that while you're waiting there and you're on time, that you are away from that curb. You don't want to stand too close where the bus is going to approach and where cars are still driving through and making turns. Sometimes those turns are a little tight and they're a little too close to the curb. You want to make sure your kids are safe enough and far back. And then once you're in the bus, parents, you want to make sure you're telling your kids to stay seated. If there's seatbelts, let's use those, and keep the volume down so that we're not distracting our drivers. Going back a little bit, Tyler, to our drivers that are actually driving to and from school, when you do see a bus stopped and they have their red lights flashing, their stop sign out, you have to stop. Do not go around that bus. You want to make sure that those kids that are crossing to get onto that bus are not in any danger of getting hit.
And of course, there's so much to consider with age of the kids also. From the elementary age, middle school, high school kids, there's always some different considerations in there. But there are some similarities. There's some goofing off more with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers at the bus stop or as they're walking home from the bus stop or as they're walking home from school versus the elementary school kids who are just looking for some playtime to fill that dead time between when they get to the bus stop and when the bus actually gets there. So from a parent's side of things, what should they be talking to, especially those younger kids who are going to be at the bus stop? How should that factor in to their training, to their walkthroughs? What to do when you're at the actual bus stop and waiting?
So like I said, that's when you want to make sure you're teaching them, hey, it's okay, I know you guys are waiting, you want to have fun, and that is all okay, but you want to make sure you're doing that away from the curb, as far away from the street as possible. Like I would say walk 6 to 10 steps back away from that curb. That bus driver will see you, you will see when they're approaching, and you are not in danger as you're playing around. Kids get, they're pushing around, they're running around. You're not close, you're not getting close to that curve if you're 10 feet away from it.
Yeah, always good advice, too. And we go back to the high school kids and maybe driving in for the first time. It's not only a factor of them needing to be on time, maybe leave a few minutes earlier, avoid speeding, as you mentioned earlier on, but sometimes they're also going to be carpooling with some of their friends, whether it's to school or after school to other activities. How should that factor into the conversation with parents from a safety standpoint, and what steps they need to be taking to keep themselves focused on the road and eliminate hazards that come from being a new driver and being distracted by friends and other things happening in the vehicle?
Great question. And what you just said is to avoid that distraction, stay off your electronics, pay attention to the road. Again, like I said, in West Bloomfield, we have a lot of streets that don't have sidewalks. And so you have kids that are walking, that are on the road. So you want to make sure you are paying attention and you're driving slow. Give yourself enough time, leave home. And I know that there are times where we just wake up late, but rushing to save that 2-3 minutes will do you no good. You're going to be late regardless. At the very least, you're at least being safe and you know that you are not putting anyone else, not yourself or anyone else in danger.
All good advice. There's even more of that on the Facebook page of the West Bloomfield Police Department at West Bloomfield PD. Officer Zena Daly is joining us on today's edition of the Splash Live. There's also considerations for the rest of the community as well. Parents and kids certainly play a very big role in back-to-school safety. But for those of us that don't have kids, we're not going to and from the schools at all throughout the regular school year, what factors should we be considering as we head back to the school season to make sure we're keeping those kids and those families safe during the school year?
That's when you approach those school zones where the speed limit drops a little bit. You'll see that around all of our schools. So just pay attention when those lights are flashing. There are times those are restricted for. So I would pay attention to that and slow down because you have kids crossing the main road. You have West Bloomfield Middle School, you are crossing the main road, same with the high school. So, and I urge parents to make sure their kids are crossing at the light, at the crosswalks, but there are times where these kids will just cross. And so we, as the drivers, have to be careful. We have to be vigilant and pay attention.
Always a good idea to be doing that, even throughout the rest of the season. When it's not kids running across the road, it's going to be a deer. So, hey, good practice in that school year and school zone anyway. Officer Daly, before we let you go, any final advice for parents, for kids, and for the community as we focus on back-to-school safety?
Parents, I would have those talks with your kids from elementary to high school. And like I said, it goes from walking and being safe and how to handle what happens if you're approached by another vehicle, that someone that you don't know, a stranger, to the high school kids who are driving. And even if this is your third year driving, you still want to be careful and make sure that you are having that conversation of stay off your electronics, pay attention and slow down.
We always appreciate the advice from the West Bloomfield Police Department. The community can get even more by calling their non-emergency number or visiting them on Facebook at West Bloomfield PD. Zena, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Always more information and helpful safety tips available from the West Bloomfield Police Department on their Facebook page at West Bloomfield PD, or contact them through their non-emergency number. You can find that on wbtownship.org. The prettiest little city in Michigan is just about to get a little bit prettier, all from the help of some experts that are on a mission to help you make your neighborhood greener and healthier along the way. Here to tell us more is Marilyn Trent from the Rochester Pollinators. Marilyn, thank you for being on the show today.
Well, I thank you for having me. I wasn't aware of, Civic Center TV, CCT, so I'm really interested in learning more.
Well, glad to have you with us and to learn a little bit about us along the way as well. We're learning about your initiative, Healthy Yards, Pretty City. You've got an upcoming event coming up in the city of Sylvan Lake. Take us through Healthy Yards, Pretty City and sort of the mission behind this initiative.
Well, in 2019, when I learned the monarch butterfly was in decline by up to 90%, and depending on the year, and it was all because of plant choice, which it was basically other mitigating circumstances, but the most important thing was milkweed was being replaced by non-native plants. So that started my journey on this Healthy Yards. Well, it's called many things: sustainability, conservation, healthy yards, being able to improve the ecological system that we live in, and through replacing non-natives or introducing non-native trees and shrubs and plants and flowers to save other pollinator insects, which are in decline by 40%. So it just really grew, no pun intended. So I am now on city council. I'd always been involved with our city, and so here I am. Our city was already involved with the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, which is a national initiative to save the monarch butterfly. And if you can save the monarch butterfly, you can save the other insects.
And we've had similar initiatives here in our community in past years. We know that in the past decade, Karen Meebrod and others from the city of Keego Harbor have even partnered with some of our local representation to try to get the monarch butterfly named our state insect. It didn't ultimately end up going through, but their campaign to support this the monarch butterfly continues, as does those for our friends at West Bloomfield Parks. That's what the big impact here is. You bring those butterflies back, they're pollinators, they help with the local plant life. But what are some of the other more impactful steps that people in the city of Sylvan Lake and neighboring areas like Keego Harbor, Orchard Lake, and West Bloomfield can take?
I'm glad you asked. So besides planting native species, and you need to make sure they are Michigan native species, and the way you know that is to look at the Latin name and look it up, because there are cultivars, and the cultivars are not as nutrient rich, and some of them, if the colors change, like if they've genetically modified, like the coneflower, and from a purple to a orange, then sometimes insects can't identify them. So you also should and can reduce your lawn area. You need to avoid pesticides and herbicides, because that is another major impact on killing insects. And I never thought I would be trying to save bugs, but I am now, and understanding that how important they are to our livelihood, our planet's livelihood. Because if we lost our insects, the food web would collapse. And don't use fertilizer on the plants; they don't need them. And it ends up in our water systems, and that is not good, because 40% of our groundwater is where Michiganders get their water that comes out of their faucet. You need to remove invasive species like Japanese barberry, buckthorn, Callery pear, burning bush, things that people love. They are invasive, and they are. That means they're aggressive, and they are getting into our ecological landscapes beyond our yards and taking over on natural areas. And you can support dark skies, which protects nocturnal wildlife like bats and birds and moths and butterflies.
And so you're going to be having a conversation Monday, September 15th, begins at 7 o'clock at the Sylvan Lake Community Center, free for the public to attend. A social mixer at 6:30 beforehand to get some questions answered before you do some learning at 7 o'clock. What is this whole conversation really going to center around? Of course, preserving the monarch butterfly, some of these initial steps, but what else can people learn by attending this discussion on Monday?
Well, yes, beyond that, it is what I have learned that that you're going to be we're encouraging you to plant these plants and reduce your lawn by less mowing, which reduces air pollution. They're perennials, so you save money. They come back every year. They have deep roots, which helps filter out pollutants. It decreases soil compaction, and they soak up 90% more than turf grass. And so, yeah, you're going to learn that this is a gift that keeps on giving. They don't wash your dishes, but they do almost everything else that you might be having issues with in your yards, because of a lot of the issues are, and I learned in Sylvan Lake that there is spongy yards. The water is just running off because that's what happens. It runs off grass immediately. Turf grass is like one step above concrete, and it's slamming into the streets where you get that high level of watermarks that stall cars and cause even more problems of flooding. So these plants, I know it's such an easy solution. People can't believe it, but that's what you'll learn. And then you'll also learn that there's other people in the community that are thinking the same thing and they don't know what to do. One thing that Sylvan Lake, the women that called me from the Sylvan Lake Garden Club, that's how I was contacted because of the mini forest that City of Rochester planted. They called me and said, we have a geese problem, we have algae blooms, we have mosquitoes, and we have, spongy and wet areas and flooding. And I said, we have a plant for that.
Yeah, all helps. And those geese, I'd like to walk places that are close by to our studio here, like West Bloomfield Town Hall. I'd like to go for a little walk before these Sylvan Lake meetings every month as well. And this time of the year, it's like walking in the minefield when you go on the grass. Those native plants help get rid of some of those geese, take care of some of those root problems as well. Marilyn, we got about 30 seconds left with you. Before we let you go, how else can people get involved with Rochester Pollinators or other local organizations after this? Are there going to be follow-up workshops or other events?
Well, number one, North Oakland Wild Ones is a chapter of a national Wild Ones organization that meets every month at the Johnson Nature Center in Bloomfield Hills. And they are a membership organization that focuses on anything that has anything to do with native plants and flowers. So they're a group of experts, and you do not have to be a member to attend the meetings. And the Sylvan Lake Garden Club is another one these are the women that called me, several of them. We had a nice talk, and they wanted me to come in and start talking about how integrating native plants and can help with geese problems. Putting back what nature intended is what the solution is. And nature didn't have fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides in the lakes that causes algae blooms. They had long, beautiful grass and flowers along that water's edge. I mean, wouldn't that be prettier than turf grass?
Absolutely, and there's so much more to learn, of course, on their website, rochesterpollinators.org. On Facebook and Instagram, you can follow them at Rochester Pollinators and join them Monday, September 15th, beginning at 6:30 with a presentation at 7 at the Sylvan Lake Community Center. Marilyn, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Marilyn Trent, the Executive Director of Rochester Pollinators, with us on the Splash Live, hoping to see you out at the Community Center in Sylvan Lake on Monday, September 15th. That's our show. Wanted to remind you that television that's close to home is always online on civiccentertv.com and across our social media pages. Big thank you to our entire team, our crew at Master Control for making this show possible, and of course to you for joining in each and every day. For our entire team at Civic Center TV, I'm Tyler Kieft, live, local, social. This has been the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.